And we are live.
Hey everybody, welcome to AKA Geeks. This is Geeks of Thrones. I'm Sean. With me I have Lynn.
What's up, everybody?
And I have Brenden. Alright guys, so this episode, I want to do this one a little bit differently today because we only have three main areas that we go to. So I want to kind of talk through those areas, like the storyline of what's happening in each of the areas. Let's start off with Winterfell. Alright, so in Winterfell we pick up the story of Arya and Sansa and their sister beef. And how do you guys feel about the sister beef going on in this episode?
Can I say this is the first time in a long time I can say I am fully in love with Arya right now?
Really? Because
she is not taking any shit from anybody, and that stone cold killer face she gives, oh my god, man. She's just a little bit older, man.
Dude, she's 20.
Yeah, but like I said, a little bit older.
Legal.
No, it's 24 years old, too young.
You're liking the way she's going, Brenden.
Yeah.
I didn't like it.
All right.
The reason I didn't like it, it felt off for her. I get the Raven thing. I get why she's upset.
Yeah.
But I feel like she played her card way too early.
I think
because I don't think she realizes that Littlefinger is behind. Basically, Littlefinger's like doing this to Sansa, right?
See, you think that. I think she's aware of it, and I think that's why she was mentioning about wanting to wear Sansa's face. I think she was trying to give Sansa a way out of how she can get Littlefinger in it. What I didn't care for in Winterfell was the fact that how manipulative Littlefinger still has a control over Sansa the meat puppet. And it just shows she's never going to be strong.
Alright, so I think, one, I agree more with Brenden here, for kind of, might be different reasons if I explain them, but I agree with you about how I agree how Sansa's being, that, and what you said, Lynn, right now, about giving Sansa a way out.
Yeah.
Possibly, it's kind of like, hey, use this knife on the reason whatever.
Right.
It's hard to get, you have to really read the line between the lines on there. On this episode, I feel like Arya pushed the turbo button on her freaking faceless man act, and because some people say that she's totally faceless man, and I was like, and I don't agree with that. When she left the faceless man, when she decided to leave, she decided to be Arya Stark and go home, and so the fact that she's doing totally what that girl did to her, to me that doesn't ring true.
I think I know why they're doing that though, and you got to forget one character that's in the books that is not in the show whatsoever is Lady Stoneheart. And I think that's why Arya is playing as cold as she is, because she's that representation of that character in a way.
But the problem is that she flipped it like a switch.
Well, she should be able to. She's a freaking killer. She's an assassin. She's able to.
That's the thing.
She also has to pay attention to who may be listening. The walls have ears at this point.
So maybe.
And why would she leave the stuff out that easy to find?
Exactly.
Did she do it on purpose, or?
I think she did. I think she wanted, Sansa to know who she was or what she's capable of doing. And I think she gave her little keywords, even though Sansa's just stupid.
It felt off to me. It didn't feel right.
It felt forced. I felt like she's really pushing the issue, and she's being, instead of having communication with her sister and actually coming closer together. I understand that even there's a scene where Sansa says, I don't know her. And yeah, they don't know each other. They left on bad terms in the sense that little sisters didn't like each other. Like me and my brother, we love each other, but we also hated each other. Kind of thing. But still, like, it's your sister, it's your blood. I would expect her to try to hear her sister out, not just, I'm gonna threaten your life. First off, I'm gonna threaten your life. I got that she threatened her life. Oh, you want to ask me questions? The last person to ask me questions, it didn't turn out too well for them. I was like, oh, she's straight up threatening her life. And then she picks up the knife. So to me, that's threatening her life.
Yeah, but she turned it and gave it to her. That's key.
Well, I think you might have something in what you said, though, Lynn.
Yeah.
That about being careful about what she says, because she might be taking it all in and seeing how honest of a reaction Sansa gives her. and maybe doing that to see maybe Littlefinger's in the shadows over there watching this interaction, and then she
because them at odds with one another is exactly what he wants.
And that's
between the two, I expect Sansa to follow through with that, but I don't expect Arya to fall into that ploy so quickly. I think she's acting it out and choosing her words so it comes off like she's against her, but at the same time saying, "Hey, I can wear your face."
The reason why I think she's acting as well, and the reason why this is super off for me, like it's forced, is because when she decided to leave the Faceless Man, it was because she didn't want to kill the woman. Remember? And she saved her life, and she said, this twat over here wants you dead. Or whatever.
Yeah.
You know? And because at the heart of it, Arya still has a good heart because of her father. And she's not going to kill a random person that doesn't deserve it just because some woman...
But she's also not going to let somebody take over Winterfell and try to kill Jon in spite of it. She's not going to lose another brother.
And I don't think Sansa's going to do that. And I hope she's doing what you're saying and just playing up the part for Littlefinger. I hope.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I'm not happy with how she's acting right now.
Because even the whole conversation that Sansa had with Brienne, that conversation pissed me off. And Brienne should have stood her fucking ground and said, "No, my job, my promise was to stay here and protect you and your sister to your mother."
At that moment, what Lynn's talking about, that moment, right at the end of the scene, once Lady Brienne leaves the room, Sansa puts moves a little bit and adjusts how she sits, and it's like almost like she's putting the thought of like, okay, now the next step. Do you think that her next step is like, do I go try to kill Arya?
I think she has that in mind because of that conversation with Littlefinger.
Get her before she gets me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't know how. She has no tactics.
I hope that's not what I got. That's what I took from that end of that scene. I hope that's not what happens. I don't want to see them. I don't want to see them die needlessly. Either of them.
Because to be honest, I don't think either of them will. And I think, because to be honest, Arya seems to know who exactly is talking to who. She made it abundantly clear that Sansa doesn't know half the shit that's going on, but she does. So what's to say that Arya doesn't kill one of those guys in their sleep and leads the Knights of the Nine or what have you against Littlefinger and try to out him out as being a little stool pigeon bitch that he is. She could pull something out of her ass like that because all she needs is to wear the face.
So let me ask you guys this, and it's something I was thinking of, and I don't know if there's been anybody that is laid it in stone that this is a rule for being a faceless man. Do you have to kill the person to impersonate somebody to take their face, or can you impersonate somebody if you're that skilled of a faceless man? Do we know if that's set in stone? Like that's a rule of being a faceless man?
I don't know.
Because here's what
I think they have to die.
You think so?
It's like she killed Frey and then she had his face.
Okay. So because what I was
and then they say when they die or when they kill someone, then they add that to the faces.
Because the only other thing I was thinking of was that why would Sansa be invited to this meeting? It does seem suspicious, and in my mind,
I think that goes back to the meeting that Tyrion had with Jaime, the episode before. I think this was Tyrion saying, "Hey, we need to get everybody together in this round table and discuss the whole White Walker thing." I think that Raven to Sansa was on behalf of that, because nobody knows where Jon is right now except for.
Well, how does Cersei know Jon's not there, and why does she address Lady Sansa and not Jon, the King of the North? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So here's what I was wondering about the whole faceless man thing. The reason I asked the question is, I don't want Arya to kill a maester, but what if she was pretending to be the maester?
But there's already dead maesters that she could pretend to be.
So but I think
if she has I don't know if she has access to
the faces.
Well, but I mean that actual maester that gave Sansa the scroll was the one that works there at Winterfell. So I'm saying, if she can impersonate that dude instead of without killing him, and is setting this up to send Brienne out to possibly All right, let's see how Sansa.
Where did Sansa send Brienne? Did she send to the meeting?
She sent her to King's Landing.
Well, that makes sense though, because
she's representing her.
If as far as you know, you're Lady of, she's
Lady Winterfell,
and she's basically going, it's not safe for me to go, so I'm sending a representative. And I'm sending a
but here's my thing, and it goes. I'm gonna take it back a little bit to the conversation that Littlefinger was having with Sansa. Littlefinger was stating he wanted her to use Brienne as a divide between the two sisters, you know, however it was to play out. But yet you get this weird raven that sends Brienne away, but yet keeps the two sisters in Winterfell.
Wait, here's the thing you gotta ask yourself about the whole Littlefinger issue. Was he actually saying to use her as a divide, or saying send her off so you can kill Arya?
No, I think he was trying to use Brienne as the whole catalyst for whatever goes on.
But do you think that...
Not to send her away.
No, but Littlefinger was giving an example of like, hey, look, if Arya was trying to do something, Brienne would intercede. Now, and putting the thought in her head like, oh yes, she would. That would be good if Arya tried something, but if I try something, Brienne will intercede as well. So if I try something, I need Brienne to be gone.
But I go back to them seeing Brienne fight, and they know that she's not some timid little girl. She knows how to handle herself in a fight. And so, you know, Brienne was the only one that went toe-to-toe to her and still... So if anybody could hold her back, it would be Brienne. Any other guy in Winterfell under Littlefinger's thumb that tries to kill her is going to end up dead.
The thing about what Arya brings to this whole conversation is the whole faceless man aspect.
Yeah.
So if she does have to kill somebody, okay, she has to kill somebody. But she's also very... They're leading us to believe that she's turned into this conniving spy/assassin now. Not just utilizing her skills, but actually acting that way. Whether it's to throw a curveball at Littlefinger,
yeah,
like you said, Lynn, or it's because the writers are pushing her character towards that. I don't know. I think it could be. I hope it's her throwing a curveball at Littlefinger.
Yeah, I think Arya is a little bit more stable-minded in comparison to the two sisters here, and I think she knows a lot more than she's letting on, and she's using certain keywords to see if Sansa picks up on it. Because there's no way, if she really wanted to kill Sansa right then and there, no way she would not be able to be stopped.
So where's the three-eyed raven in all this?
That's what I asked. I'm like, he was like, is he still sitting at the tree? Because he'd be frozen to death.
They forgot him by the tree.
I'm like, yeah, the fat lot of good that wheelchair did him.
Yeah, they forgot him by the tree. Alright, so let's move on. These next two settings, we kind of go together later on. But at the beginning, we were talking about the guys that are going finally, the Magnificent Seven, the Fellowship of the White. They're going beyond the wall, and they're going to go hunt down a White. And in this setting of them walking, you have all these conversations, interactions. Brenden, start off, tell me some moments from these conversations that really caught your attention. And I have a bunch of stuff listed down here, so if we don't touch on some of it, I definitely can bring it up.
The walking and talking, my favorite was Tormund. It's
the first part with Gendry.
Yeah, where he's like, I want to make babies with her. how did she look at you like she wanted to kill you? Oh, you do know her.
Yeah.
That's out.
His conversation with the Hound was awesome.
I love it. Have you always been mean? No. Do you hate the wildlings? No, I have nothing against the wildlings. I hate gingers. He goes, we're kissed by fire, just like you.
Gingers are good.
Yeah.
I was so worried he was gonna die.
Yeah, so was I, man.
They did that, not to bring in another show we just talked about earlier off air, is that if they did the whole Walking Dead thing, where they kind of get you to a point with the character,
you're like, no,
very happy with the character, and then they kill that character.
But I gotta admit, I was a little disappointed in the Hound in this episode.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, because go ahead.
I don't want to go too far into the latter part of this area.
Well, no, it started early enough from the bear attack on. That's where my so.
Okay, we'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah.
I like the part with Tormund when he's walking with Jon and Gendry, and Gendry's like, "Oh, how do you not freeze your balls off in this?" Well, you move,
keep moving.
You fight, or you fuck. You know, and he's like, "Oh, there's not a woman for miles." He's like, "Sometimes you just gotta
make exceptions.
Sometimes you gotta do with what you can, with what you got." And Gendry gets a little freaked out.
It makes him go to the back of the line.
Yeah.
No, it's moving's good, fighting's better, fucking's the best.
Yeah. Yeah. And Gendry's just like, and then Jon just looks at Gendry like, yeah. I love that part.
Oh no, the other line that he had was with the Hound when he's like, "You want to suck my cock?" He's like, "Cock?"
Dick.
Yeah, he's like, "Dick?"
Dick?
He's like,
cock.
Cock. I like that. And he's like, I'm sure you do.
Yeah, his stuff was good because of his character building and had some dynamic.
And it broke that serious tone. He was the only one that was allowed. If you thought he was the only one that was light there, like when he's talking about how he felt he could breathe again, because the South smelled like goat shit or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But
the other conversation that was good was some of the stuff that character Darian had with Jon, and then talking about how they don't know why they were brought back to life, but they got to know what they're fighting for. And Jon asked him, well, what are you fighting for? And he goes, for life. The enemy is death. The death is the enemy all the time, and the enemy always wins because everybody dies, like Jon said. And he says, like, we can protect others from dying right now. And Jon repeats something: "We are the
I am the shield that protects.
We're the guards of the realms of men."
I am the shield.
Love that conversation with the two of them, and for me, it's really nice to see Jon realize that, like, he kind of already knows why he's doing it. He's doing it because he knows it's right, but now he has more of a reason to do it. That was a really good conversation for me. The other conversation was him and Jorah with the sword, with Longclaw. And in this conversation, he offers back Longclaw, tells him what happened. He goes, "But you're his son. It should be yours." He said, "No, I brought dishonor to the house. You keep it." And then he says something, and correct me if I'm wrong, or if you guys think otherwise. He says, "This is yours now. This needs to be there to serve you well as your children." And he gives him a look. Do you guys think he was passing the torch to Jon to say, "Go ahead and go after Dany"?
I don't think he knows that there's those type of feelings, because when he left, they were still at odds with one another. So I don't think so. I don't think so.
When Jorah came up and they were on the hill in another previous episode, Jon was there looking like almost. It wasn't Jon's look, but I felt like Jorah had this impression of he was interrupting something, even though Dany came to him and gave him this loving hug. So you guys didn't get that at all? I watched it a second time, and after somebody had mentioned this to me, and I totally kind of got that vibe when he's talking.
Yeah. No, I don't. Like I said, it was still too early, and Dany and Jon were still playing political beef with one another. So I don't think he would have, unless he's hoping. Maybe that's what he was hoping. Someone,
Maybe he's got the vibe, is what I'm saying. Is maybe he's gotten the vibe and he's giving the okay, like, to have some kids with it. I don't know. I just thought that was there. Somebody mentioned to me, and it kind of seemed like it as well after the fact. But it was good, though, to get Longclaw back because he needs it. Any other conversations that caught your guys' attention?
No.
I think that was pretty much the more important ones.
Although I could have watched a whole episode of them
just walking and talking,
doing stuff.
Yeah.
I totally could have. It was very interesting. And literally just you could have fought something else, or done some other side thing, or like had to rescue somebody, or oh, I'm falling off a cliff,
whatever,
or just literally just them talking, because that pretty much it was their episode.
So it was pretty much like two seasons ago, that could have been an entire episode.
Or if they had done a full actual 10 episodes, I would have happily taken an episode of just Beyond the Wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it almost was to an extent, because there wasn't a lot of other than the aftermath scenes, there wasn't really. I think it was just what Winterfell, and then
Winterfell, Storm, Dragonstone. So here's what I want to get. So at this point, you start having them walking through more of a blizzard type, and you see the bear, and the dead bear attacks them, kills one of the extras, the red shirts, and they kill the bear. It also gets a death blow onto Thoros. I knew Thoros was gonna die. But I think a lot of people thought he was going to die.
Yeah, he was one of the ones I picked.
I also picked Jorah, but we'll go into that a little later. So they fight this bear. They ended up fighting it off, and they see the tracks go. This scene, you're disappointed in the Hound in this scene, particularly because the bear's charging at him.
Right when he's on fire, he just freezes up.
Yep.
And I understand, because I haven't forgotten that the Hound's afraid of fire, obviously, and that's always going to stay with him. And what have you, but it also plays another part later on.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, we'll get that into even more.
But that was the start of it. It was like, this is supposed to, I don't care. The Hound's badass. I'm not ever taking that. But right there, it felt like it was so, like, really, now's the time he's gonna chicken out or something. So
you're gonna nut up right now.
Yeah. Yeah, you're gonna
nut up.
And all I want to know is, what are Jormun's daggers made out of?
Okay,
all their weapons were dragon glass. You could tell all their weapons were dragon glass.
Jorah's were dragon glass. If you notice,
Bear Claw, is it?
If you notice, Tormund, he had a regular axe, and he had another axe that with dragon glass on it. And the other guys had dragon glass as well. I've even heard, and before we go too far, again, I've even heard people say that Gendry's hammer is dragon glass because of the black stone it is made out of.
It
looks like to me.
The steel that the North uses is actually made from dragon glass.
Well, then that would be Valyrian steel.
Valyrian steel is actually it's a harder shaped form of dragon glass. Dragon glass that's heated to a high temperature, and it creates the Valyrian steel. That's something that hasn't been talked about, but it is in the books. And it's one of the things that Sam was being read to by his wife, and he just like blew it off.
All he heard was bowel movements.
Yeah, but that is key. Valyrian steel comes from dragon glass, so that's why I was wondering if that hammer is actually Valyrian steel.
I think it's dragon glass of some sort. So it might be steel, it might be something. They see the path of the bear, so they're going to start following that. At that point, the show episode actually goes back to Dragonstone. So I want to jump over to Dragonstone and what we start to see with some of the interactions between Tyrion and Dany, which I started to really love these interactions because as much as Tyrion has made mistakes with the fighting aspects or the war aspects, I don't blame him for that because he's not a war general. I think that would be better served under Jorah, not him. He's better with this stuff that he's trying to talk and convince and persuade Dany into realizing, like, hey, there needs to be more beyond what you are just right now. And I love some of the conversations, and he's totally trying to make her see, like, you gotta look at this from all angles, not just your perspective. What did you guys get from that? Lynn, let's start with
honestly, the most I took away is that Dany's still not willing to see his point of view. She was so quick to call him out. Are you still trying to make your family win this? The entire time that he's been with her, everything he's done for her, and she doubts him to the very day that, he just wants her to be smart. Because he's smart. He just wants her to see there's a bigger picture. It's not just a straight line. Stop being narrow-minded. And she's just pulling up her britches saying, I'm queen, you need to listen to me.
I get that, but also she had a point where, at least so far, other than something that happens later in the episode, every time that she's listened to somebody else about what needs to be done, something bad happens.
Gone wrong, yeah.
Every time she's been like, you know what, I'm doing this, and this is what's going to happen, it's worked out fairly well. Stuff. Now, granted, when she's done her stuff, she's been like, okay, we won't attack this area. Like, she listens to an extent. Said, oh, don't go straight to King's Landing. She wanted to go do something with her dragons. She said, she was like, these need to be used. But they're like, don't go to King. Don't be. so she's incorporating what the people are doing, but from her point of view,
it's gotten her nowhere.
Been striking out, and she's been hitting home runs.
But that's the thing is, I don't think she's striking out. I don't think everybody else is striking out, but she needs to do a better job of taking at least Tyrion.
But she should not be doubting him, doubting his loyalty this long. Because to be quite honest, if he wanted his family to win all the opportunities in the world, he had to kill her to make his family.
He could have killed her himself.
Yeah.
It even goes as far as when before they get into the deep stuff like what we're talking about right now. They start off pretty simply and talking about, and then it's about the tone of the conversation is how they care for each other. But because she's saying, you know what I like about you is that you're not a hero, and he's like, he almost takes offense to that because he's done some kind of heroic things. He's put his life on the line for people, whether he's been forced or he did it just to do it, and so he's done it, and he starts talking about some of the things that we've talked about and how Jon stares at her chest and her heart and how he's fallen in love. So they're definitely leaning towards that. But it's a more candid conversation about why she cares for him, I guess. I think even though it's face value, I think it's deeper than what it appears to be, in my opinion. That she does care for him. You are important. You're the hand because I care about you as a person.
Yeah.
You're someone I trust. But
and
then
she recognizes his talent.
Yes, but then she does like what we're talking about with Lynn, is that she says that,
and then right around this, it doesn't trust what he has to offer her.
So I love these scenes between the two of them. There's a really nice dynamic. It's a back and forth, and they're throwing points at each other that are like they have some.
They both, at least from their point of view, have valid points. And for the most part, they do. What they're saying is valid. Now, granted, by this point, I agree with Lynn. She should trust him.
Yes.
He's done nothing. Now, granted, he's been wrong about stuff. About, like taking over, High Gardens?
Casterly Rock.
He underestimated his Jaime and Cersei, but that's not... He set her up. He's like... he admit it. He's like, I underestimated. He said something like that where he was like, I was wrong. Yeah. You can be wrong and still be loyal, and that's what she's not getting.
Yeah, she's
mistakes as disloyalty.
Yeah,
just because the enemy is related to.
Yeah,
and that's where it's got to stop with her, because it's running old, because she's done it the last 3-4 episodes with him.
Season
yeah.
The other thing is, I don't think it's going to happen that much anymore, and I'll get into that once we get into the end after we talk about the meat and potatoes.
Right.
Because at that point, that's not her priority anymore. Her priorities change.
So, going from here, let's go back to the rock in the middle of the lake. Let's not go there. So they're following the footsteps of the bear tracks. They come across a small hunting group, I guess you could say, or a scout group of the White Walkers. And they decide to let's ambush them and capture one right now before we get the rest of the herd. I love this scene because it shows everybody gets to see what the Valerian still does. Jon hits a leader, one of the most powerful ones of the Whites. Yeah,
and the White Walker.
Yeah, the White Walker, one of the lieutenants or generals. Huh?
One of 4.
Yeah, so he hits one.
Now there's 3.
Yeah, and so everybody gets to see, like, holy cow, like, something happened with that sword. Maybe this is legit. I mean, for me, it's like, it's unspoken words in the scene. Like, it builds more trust and belief into what's going on. And it's really cool they capture their White Walker, and it leads to...
I have such a problem with that.
Okay, so...
I had a problem with the scene, too.
I'm wondering if it's the same problem that I have with it.
Is it the Deus Machina where they killed all of, they all shattered except for one?
Exactly!
You had one... Okay.
You had the one big mouth screamer survive, but yet everybody shattered to pieces when the lieutenant got killed.
It did give a good plot point to where once that... Whatever...
Right.
Whites that the White Walkers create... Once the leader is dead, they all die because they don't have control over it anymore.
Right.
So, but you're telling me that one walker
is the only one that's not part of the pack.
Exactly.
That guy. So he was on loan. He was on loan from. everybody else.
But one out of what was it, like 7 or 8 of them that were there? So one is the only one that's not part of the whole group. He's the outsider.
I totally agree with you guys. It was very convenient for the one to stay alive.
There's a lot of that going on in this season about like just kind of shuffling stuff into place and going to certain places in a certain amount of time.
Yeah, but something like that sticks out so bad. You're like, really?
Well, since you just touched on that, Brenden, I read an article today about this, and it was from one of the, it was Benioff or Weiss, one of the two, and they said, or one of the writers, I can't recall, and they said what they're aiming for with some of these episodes, because people are complaining about fast travel stuff, which people need to get off their freaking high horses about that stuff. That's some petty stuff to be complaining about an episode if it's fast travel.
Yeah, but then you know what would happen if they were to do an episode where they're just traveling the whole distance? People would get pissed off because people would be pissed off. Why all the walking? All I gotta say is Lord of the Rings.
I think the problem is that's partly their fault for doing 7 episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, to me, it's not really a complaint. I'm not like, it doesn't like, oh, there's no freaking way, he could have, it would have taken him 6 weeks and did it.
People like that, though.
Yeah.
Yes, no, there are, but it's just something funny you point out where you're like, come on. But with this episode, I was actually, I was watching, whatculture.com, they do a podcast type thing, and they said that actually one of the writers, like, they showed the distance, and where they're like, well, in this episode, a raven could get from here to here in 24 hours, give or take, and you guarantee a dragon can go way faster than that.
Oh, no, I believed when the dragons arrived, there's no doubt, because for one, their wingspan, especially Drogon's, is huge, so you don't expect them to take a day and a half to get there.
Well, and then the other part is, without getting into too much, when Gendry gets sent, he's been rowing for what, 2 seasons?
But that's his arms!
Dude's got his nerves.
Plus, he's a fit dude. I mean, he said that he was making weapons, keep getting ready, staying in shape, getting ready to whenever he's got to leave, he's got to leave. So it's conceivable that he could get there in a few hours, and it would make sense that he would sprint all the way. That's why he collapsed, because he was nonstop, just friggin' sprinting the whole way.
I think you and I read the same article, Brenden. They said that they're aiming for plausible impossibilities, not impossible plausibilities.
Right.
They want something that is believable that might not be.
Well, whatever it was, it worked in this episode. It has not worked in previous episodes. That's what the key.
I think it's more funny than anything. I don't.
Yeah, because we called it out with the ships. So to be fair, but we do it out of jest.
Yeah.
Honestly, you don't expect to see the entire travel of the boats get to where they live, because it would be boring.
And here's the other thing.
Go ahead.
You have to have carryover of emotion, of tone, of storyline.
Pacing. Just the pacing.
You can't always just, alright, now they're sending the dragon, now we have to wait for 2 more episodes. It can't be a Dragon Ball Z fight, you know? It can't be
exactly.
Where when they fought Cell, it was 12 episodes, you know? It can't. It just can't. So, anyway, what were you going to say, Brent?
The other thing is, the show has never really done a decent job, if at all, about talking about the amount of passage of time. Yes. Like how long it takes to get, or how long this scene is from this scene and this season is from this scene. They do a little bit of exposition now and then. They're like, oh, that was months ago. Why are you so upset? Like that kind of stuff. So they really don't explain and talk about how long it takes.
Yeah, the whole concept of time is lost.
Go to King's Landing, that takes 2 weeks. They're like, they don't really talk about that.
Yeah.
So it kind of throws you off a little bit, where you're like, wait, how do they get there so fast?
And you know what? To be fair, I think that confuses everybody based on the intros, because the intro is supposed to be geologically correct to what the world's supposed to be,
or at least this area of land.
Right. So according to the intro, it should take a little bit of distance, but not superbly long distances, because when they cut to each kingdom or realm that they're going to be visiting, they go by overhead shot, and I take it you're supposed to think about it like if you're flying through.
So the best thing I think they did with the whole time stuff was, I think it was 2 episodes ago when Sam interrupted the Archmaesters, the Archmaester and the other Maesters, and he said, that guy survived out beyond the wall for years. He kind of, right then and there, he clarified at least a chunk of time of how long Bran had been out there, so we know by certain assumptions how many handful of years, 5 years, give or take, almost along as many seasons that there is, I would assume, in my head. So let's go to where we want to go now. So after they get that one walker that somehow survives, they send Gendry on to run to Eastwatch. I'm sorry, Eastwatch. And then they hear the horde. They hear the horde because this is happening.
No, to the wall. They sent him to the wall.
Yeah, the Eastwatch. That's at the wall. He says go to Eastwatch.
Anyway.
So anyway, we hear the rumble of the horde. So they start running. They go across the lake. It starts to crack, and then we have the people. They catch one, so it breaks and it forms a circle, right? And then you have all the time stuff that we talk about. Thoris finally dies after this long, trying about, I don't know how many hours of trying to fight it, but he dies. They burn the body, and then the Hound does another thing to piss Lynn off. And he throws a rock to reveal that the ice is frozen over.
Yeah, Mr. Chicken Shit just figures, oh, fuckers, starts lobbing them like nothing, and then when the one guy goes like,
why would you throw one that big if you know you can't reach them? That's so stupid.
Well, he did! He connected the first time! He hit it in the head!
It was a lot smaller, it was like half the size.
But my point is like, and then he basically told them, hey, you know what? When that one rock started sliding, hey, it's strong enough for you guys to come on through. Come on over!
Yeah, and so the fight begins.
Hey, at least he realizes his mistake as soon as it happens. Like, oh. Fuck.
But that's not where it ends with him and me being pissed at him.
So, what are you guys' favorite moments from this fight before the grand finale? The parts where it's just the guys. I love the part where you see the whole Walking Dead thing where I'm talking about with Tormund's at a good point. He's happy. He's like excited to be back in the north. He's waiting for Brienne and.
Hold on, before we even get to any of that, as those walkers are walking onto the body of water, I don't care what. There should have been a lot more ice falling apart, with a lot more of them falling in. Not as many reaching. Not as many reaching the rock as they showed.
It's one of those things where you gotta assume that in that they're saying it's somewhat of like a 24 around 24 to 36 hours. You gotta assume that the ice is frozen over enough that they can support them. I love the part with Tormund where he starts getting jumped on and he starts trying to get pulled down into the water. And Hound does kind of make up for it, Lynn.
No, because he stood there looking at him for about 2-3 minutes. I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing? I'm just looking at him get killed. And then he decides to come out of his ass.
He hadn't fought the walkers before, right? Before this?
No, I don't.
I would like to think not, because I don't think he's ever been beat. This is his first time north of the wall.
I think
like, I usually, other than fire, I don't ever see him scared. He looked scared, like he was overwhelmed, like.
But he was the same one putting his fucking hand into the one walker's mouth, trying to shut it up, and like punching it.
At the Battle of Blackwater. At the Battle of Blackwater.
He was fighting what, 7, and then they're fighting thousands.
Yeah.
Yeah. Remember at the Battle of Blackwater, he had that point in that battle where he's like, ah, shoot. If I'm down here, I'm gonna die. I'm just done. I'm going. Remember when he goes, soldier, get back down there? He goes, F off, and he goes and gets a chicken wing and walks away, and he leaves the castle. Remember? So that's kind of what I felt like this. Like he was kind of just giving up, almost like you said. Like he was scared. He was almost giving up. Like holy cow,
he was waiting to die.
Yeah, and I almost got that feeling from him when he got scared by the polar bear on fire, because I was like, yeah, he's scared of fire, but I almost looked at he dropped his hands like, all right. This is it.
No, I die.
Yeah, but.
By blaming the polar bear. By the Coca-Cola bear. The Coca-Cola bear.
But that's like when Brianna took him out and he left him laying there. And he's bitching and moaning, why ain't you going to kill me? And she just keeps on walking.
I think that's why he's okay with dying now, though. because he's come so close that he's just like, if it's gonna be my time, it's gonna be my time. But he snapped out of it, saved Torment, so I'm happy Torment got saved. What are the moments?
You know what I'm excited for? Clegane Bowl.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen.
So in this whole little fight, you have lots of little moments. I like when they get backed up and John's telling him to fall back. You had the red shirt go and kind of help him pull the
How
walk.
big was that rock? Because it seemed pretty small before they pulled back.
At first when they showed the overhead,
looked like they had a little bit of room. It looked like a small, like not a full island, but just like a small piece of land that was just there.
It looked big to me.
Yeah.
That's what she said. And then
you.
The red shirt. Oh, that's sad. The red shirt helps pull the little White Walker, and he fights off one guy or two guys, and then one pushes him off. And then you're at this point where John's telling him to fall back. They all back up, and you have this whole this moment of almost like clarity, or things are kind of like silent for John in a sense, and he's getting ready to battle. He bumps into Torment, and Torment's like, oh, and then they get back into it, and then he bumps into Jorah and has an eye-to-eye moment, and Jorah's like,
and they nod to each other in approval.
Like, what's his task at hand is to do this.
Yeah.
So John is back around ready to start going after these dudes climbing up.
And he's waiting! Why is he gonna wait till they're halfway up? Take their fucking heads off right then and there.
He didn't want to scratch his sword on the rock.
Whatever, man.
And Danny comes and saves the day with Drogon, Viserion, and Rhaegon. Or Rhaegon. I think it's Rhaegon.
Rhaegar.
Right? Yeah, Rhaegar. And, oh man, dude, this is another scene like from, was it 2 weeks ago, where I got goosebumps on my arms and up and down my back. When I was just smiling and happy when they just came and started flying and taking them out. It was freaking awesome. I was really happy about this. Especially when Drogon landed on the front side of the rock to protect them, and he just started taking them out. Oh man, it was freaking awesome. What did you guys think of the Catholic freaking throwing his ice spear? Right when he grabs the spear, I'm like, oh no, don't do it, it's gonna happen, don't do it!
So, you know that I avoided everything like the plague.
Yep.
I was talking to somebody and we got in a fight and she decided to give out like fake spoilers, right? And I got mad and I'm like, I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to spoil it for me. She's like, oh, I'm gonna download the episode. I'm like, okay, well don't tell me because I want to watch it when it happens.
Yeah.
And then she's like throwing out these like fake spoilers, which I know they're fake, and I'm still like, just stop. She goes, oh well, I've been watching since the beginning. Why you care? And I'm like, well, that's the whole point. Is I'm a fan. I've been reading the books. I'm watching the show. She's like, well, if you read the books, you already know what happened. I'm like, not anymore.
Yeah, they're not. They're where we're at. There are no books for.
I knew that a dragon was going to die before it happened.
Well, we mentioned it. We've mentioned that there would be a dragon fight.
She told me who died. She told me which dragon died and how they died.
I couldn't even tell who. I couldn't tell the colors because of the snow. Which one did she say?
She said the lighter dragon. It was the
golden black.
Yeah.
That
I did one of the articles I read, the outfit that Danny wore, it was in the same colors on the back that Viserion was when he was a baby.
Yeah.
Like you can't. It's harder to tell when they got bigger, but he was obviously a different color from the other one.
Yeah.
But even knowing that, it was still. I got the like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Why is there not a White Walker Olympics? That was a freaking epic throw.
And then he was going to go for another one.
Well, here's the funny part. Here's the funny part. Drogon is the only character in Game of Thrones who knows the benefit of zigzagging.
or at least turn, because he's like, whoops.
Runs in a straight line and gets killed. Really
like literally, my fit. Like as soon as it was like my hope was like.
See, when I saw all the drippings, when all the drippings were falling into the water, and he's just like trying to keep himself afloat, and you see Rhaegar try to fly to see if he can help him get back up in the air. Oh my God, I nearly burst into tears. But then when we get to that moment,
hold on, don't go there yet.
No, but my point, all I kept saying, well, he's got no inside, so there's no fire. All he is a bitey thing.
Hold on, don't go there yet. What I appreciate about when the Night King hit him with the spear, and what they showed was that the flame that was coming out of his mouth then caught the rest of this part on fire because of whatever he spews out to ignite.
Comes from his internal, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I thought it was the detail on that by HBO. Bravo, guys. Bravo. That's freaking amazing.
I didn't think that's bad for a CGI dragon.
Dude, my freaking jaw dropped. I was like, no. And Danny, oh my God, Emilia Clarke did a great job in these parts. From this part on, like her acting got even better in this. But everybody leaves except for John. He gets tackled and goes into the ice. It looks like I thought he was gonna call out the Night King.
Wait, before that, that's what he was doing, because he went back to that whole conversation about being the shield. So he started to take off. He figures, well, I could go run right directly at him and his generals right now. So let me go do that.
He pulled a Jamie. He pulled a Jamie right
yeah, he's being completely stupid.
Think of that. He did, but then he stopped and Jamie didn't.
No, but because of him, won't we lose a dragon? If it wasn't for him running, you know, it's like, what was he thinking? I understand he was like the whole shield thing.
I don't blame John for losing Viserion, because at the same time while they were loading on to Drogon, there was White Walkers still coming at them because Drogon was
paying attention to the generals. The dragon should have been like.
All I gotta say is, where the hell was Rhaegar besides flying around next to Valyria? Because all he was.
I think Viserion's probably the set number 2 out of the 3, and so now you have Dany with number 1, Drogon, and Rhaegon number 1 and number 3, while Viserion's number 2.
Yeah.
I think that's the pecking order would be.
Yeah.
If you that. So at this point, before we go to the end, so that Drogon finally takes off and he zigzags like Brenden said, and the Night King misses with this spear. And I noticed this right off the bat, which I thought was cool, is that Jorah falls off and Tormund saves him. Even though they have the history with the father hunting the wildlings, I thought it was a great moment to solidify like relationships. I was really happy with that.
Oh,
I thought he was gonna die too, because you know the whole ring, bring this back to me alive thing.
I think there's still a moment where he could die.
Well, yeah.
But
at the moment though, I go here it is. Have you guys seen Hot Tub Time Machine?
Yes.
Remember when they found out the guy, he doesn't have an arm, and they keep on anticipating when he's gonna get his arm?
Yeah. And they're the reason for him not having the arm to begin with.
Yeah. So I had that moment right there, like, oh, here he's falling. So John gets out of the water. The other people on Drogon make it back. Rhaegon follows him back to the wall at Eastwatch. John gets out of the water. John's
fucking Olympic diver, man. I tell you, for him to hold his breath all that long in freezing cold water and still make it up to land and grab Bear Claw, man. That's what. Yeah, it's like he's like, oh, man.
Oh, here comes Benjen.
I thought that was great.
What do you guys think of Benjen?
I thought that was great. That's his uncle.
I thought it was bullcrap. They pulled the Jacket Rose on that. There was plenty of time for them to get on the goddamn dragon and leave. There was plenty of time for Benjen to hop on the back of that fucking horse and go with him. They both could have left.
That's where I didn't like. I love the fact that Benjen arrived, and he already told you what I wanted is for him to take off with John, because I wanted Benjen to say, I know about your mother, I know about your father, because he's the only one that could have told John outside of Bran.
I'm dying, by the way, you're a Targaryen.
Yeah, it's like, oh look, I'm getting eaten. You're not a bastard.
That Benjen felt that if he jumped on the horse would not be able to make it with both of them on. That's what I think. What he meant by the horse might not be able to.
Dude, first of all, Benjen is half zombie. He doesn't weigh that much.
So here's the other thing. Do you think that's out of convenience that Benjen saved him, or are you guys okay with it? Because I think
I was okay. Well,
I think he also stalks the White Walkers. I think he stalks them and they can't sense him.
No, and this is the mystical, magical part of Game of Thrones. I tend to believe that it's a part of it, but I think Benjen has some type of sensor where he can tell where his family is near him, and he's able to go to it because he saved Bran, got him to the wall. Now he's saving John. My problem with this is that He should have just lasted a little bit longer than this and not be swallowed up by White Walker, cattle.
That was a plot convenient death. He didn't have to die.
He didn't have to.
Or, you know what? He could have just turned around and ran.
But you guys don't believe him showing up was convenient.
No.
No, I think there's some type of...
It was also the location, because the Diamond Head, basically mountain, on the other side is where that stone thing is. That's where, in the flashback, where the...
Dragon Glass wasn't it?
Huh?
Was it that on the other side of that tower with the arrowhead? Wasn't that where Sam first found the Dragon Glass and made his first confrontation with the White Walkers as well? There was that patch of Dragon Glass.
The place in the flashback where the Children of the Forest first created the White Walkers, because that is a very historical, magical place. So I think that Benjen knew that something eventually was going to happen down there, and he has to stay up north, and he's basically keeping an eye on that area.
Yeah.
I'm sure he could hear the fighting. That's why it took him so long to get there, because I'm sure he wasn't like super nearby. Yeah. He's got to have some sort of connection to either the White Walkers or
I think it's more towards his because he was there to save his kindred, his blood, his family, both times.
I think that's a good point, Lynn. I think that totally could be the answer. But I also, myself personally, I believe that he's watching the Horde at all times.
Oh no, yeah, but he's also keeping himself alive, hence why he can't leave the North.
Right, and he can't be right there next to the Horde, because then they might seem like, hey, I can't sense him as a live person, but he definitely doesn't look like us.
Right.
Let's go kill him. So he kind of got to keep his distance. I think that he's able to see things like that, and he decided to act to save this one. Now, the Brand aspect of why he was next to Brand and to save Brand, I don't know. They never explained that.
Yeah.
So it's a family thing. So at the wall, we have John, who's on the horse. He makes it to the wall right when Danny's about to leave. They blow the horn, and he's there, and then he wakes up on a ship. And then you have hearts just fluttering out of people's eyes at this point. So he finally decides to bend the knee, which is a part of a conversation that he had right at the beginning with Tormund. He said Mance Raider was
Pride.
king on the wall, and he was prideful, and he didn't bend the knee, and look how many wildlings died because of his pride. And he was trying to make a point to John that, you might think you're doing the best for us by, living up to what we want for you as a sense of anointing you king of the North, but if you keep denying this, there's more people are going to die if you don't bring us together.
Yep.
And so he took that moment to say, call her Danny first off, and he goes, no, not Danny, how about my queen? And I was like, yeah, alright, cool.
I also look at it was a kind of a compromise between the two of them, because they both got what they wanted. He wanted her help fighting it. She wanted to say, hey, you get your people under my banner, and then we're good. So they basically, I think John realized he doesn't want to be king of everything. He's okay with his family.
But in fairness, do you guys think that she blames herself for everything that happened? Because she didn't want to take him at his word. She wanted proof. Hence why John had to go beyond the North to get a wife.
I think that she does.
Hence why, at this point, she's.
Had I listened to him in the first place, realized he doesn't want my crown. He doesn't care. He's only worried about protecting literally everybody.
Yeah.
He's an honorable guy.
And I don't think with all the different prophecy stuff, I don't think she's barren. I think she can have actual children.
I think she can too, because have you guys
the prophecy that's in the book is different from what they said in the show.
Yeah.
In the show, I read that prophecy this morning. I read that from the show, and I don't know how they get barren from that.
But the thing is,
there was one tweet that because I don't really pay attention. I don't have Twitter anymore. There was one I read that it was freaking cracked me up, and I've used it since. It said, even though Danny may be going south to warmer climates, it still looks like she's going to get 6 to 8 inches of snow.
Ah!
I fucking loved that. I loved it.
That ain't gonna happen.
And then there was another one that said, Season 1, incest is gross. And then it showed a picture of Danny and John. It said, Season 7, well, this is okay.
I saw that.
They're cousins from what? Arkansas.
No,
Oh no, aunt and nephew.
From
He's her
Alabama.
nephew. Yeah.
Yeah. But in these moments,
But real quick, in fairness, in Targaryen culture, her brother said, "I'm gonna marry you to keep the bloodline going." That's what Targaryens do.
Well, yeah, they are exactly like the Lannisters. They were inbreeding to keep their purity, hence the white hairs and certain distinguished.
So in that universe, at least for Targaryens, that's
and
okay.
Lannisters.
and I'm that. So here's the other thing. When they finally get him into the boat and they're Davos and I don't know who else. I think it was just some other red shirts were taking off of his clothes because you can hear the ice crackling when they're breaking it back.
Mm-hmm.
She actually looks at him and she's sad and like hoping he's okay. And she starts to see the scars, specifically the one right here, where they sent her on that one. And I think she starts to realize like some of that stuff was kind of true. But she doesn't know.
That should have been fatal.
Yeah.
Well, as well as the other 100 ones that are underneath by his stomach.
Yeah, the other 50 that are there. And so when he wakes up next to her, she's sad not only because I think she has she lost her child, Viserion. 2, she's made a bond regardless of how they're speeding up this season. I think she's made a bond with Jon, and she trusts him, and she sees how good of a person he is. And he cares for everybody, not just the crown like other people
And
are.
he's a survivor.
And he's a survivor, yes. And so she's also was worried about him. That's why I'm saying, like, regardless of what you say, Lynn, they're leaning with the show.
Yeah.
They're leaning toward that happening.
Yeah, unfortunately, they're leaning that way.
Whether it's going to happen or not, I can't tell you yes or no. But it seems like they might be going that way.
I still think the prophecy that you guys hinted at, and we've mentioned like few weeks back, doesn't refer to any future coming babies. It's babies that may have grown up that nobody was aware of. Hence Jon. Jon's a legitimate Targaryen. No one was aware of. Hence he's the rightful heir to the throne. And I think everybody's expecting babies and Daenerys and him hook it up. And I think when it all comes down to it, she's going to step aside and let him sit where he belongs as rightful heir. Because
all I'm going to say,
he's entitled to it.
Honestly, I think it could be 50-50 whether they hook up or not.
I think. Oh yeah, of course.
Be like, what? No, I don't want to do that. Everyone who has loved me has like either been injured or died. Or died. Send away.
Yeah.
But real quick, if they hook up, if I don't get to watch it, I don't want to see it.
You're becoming him, and I'm gonna tell you what we tell him. You need to get laid.
No, it's just because Jon Snow is a very attractive man, and I pick up moves from him basically. Like I took a chick to a cave, totally works. Totally works.
Yeah, but she was his love of his life. I don't think he's gonna go outside of that.
I don't think so. I don't think because that was this first one.
But he was in some sort of marriage with her as well.
Yeah, but now he knows what he's doing because when Egret got with him, he had no idea what he was doing. Now he's a pimp. Now he knows. Why not aim for the top?
Oh my God, you guys are horrible. This is where our episode's set to always go downhill. The moment sex is brought up.
Brenden mentioned something in there about 50-50 of it not happening or could it happen. I think as much as they're leaning towards it, it could not happen as well. It could also just be like, because one, Brand could say something, or two, she could be afraid because she doesn't want to love somebody and have to see them die or hurt. But also, when they were holding hands, she rubbed her thumb ever so slightly on his hand, and he did the same as well. And that's when he did it, and he held her hand a little bit longer, like she was trying to pull away.
She did pull away.
Like, okay, I need to straighten up now and get my composure. And then she pulled away.
She was thinking about baseball.
Yeah.
She still pulled away. Choke it up.
She was in cool down mode. You know what? No, baseball. Grandma. Yard work. Brendan.
It's been too long for him. Okay, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. There, he's probably forgotten what the use of baseball is for.
So anyway, but she held back too. She tried to cool down. She got her composure as well. So it could possibly totally not happen at all because she doesn't want to go that route with John because he's an honorable man, doesn't want to see him die. So it could go either way. I think it's totally a flip of a coin right now. It's 50-50 in my mind.
I'm sorry, if you dealt with Grayscale and you survived that shit, you should be able to be king. Come on, man. He deserves it. He's earned it. He's fucking earned it.
Jorah's gonna die when he walks up to freaking, right when he walks up to her, he's gonna die.
And he's gonna say,
she's like, so will you marry me? She's like, yes. He's like,
That's where a piece of dragon glass shoots out of his chest, like, oh no, we left one. The spear chucker.
The spear that the Night King threw kept going,
and strikes Jorah for the first.
It found the earth and then it came down and hit him. Alright, so that leads us to the end scene. So apparently we know why the White Walkers walk so slow. Because they carry around 600, 700, 800 yards of chain with them at all times.
Yeah, out of the blue. And they're deep sea divers.
They go down to the bottom of the lake, put the chains on Viserion, bring him back up, and the Ice King, the Night King walks to him, puts his hand on his forehead, and brings him back to life as an a White Walker dragon, ice dragon. I don't know what we're gonna call it, but
yeah, let's just stick with ice dragon works.
I was like, jaw to the floor, goosebumps, and I was like, oh no! But this is gonna be so cool.
As soon as I saw the chains, I literally the whole time I was like, oh shit, oh shit, exactly. Oh shit, oh shit.
And I all I kept saying was like, damn, we only called this about 3 or 4 weeks ago when we had this conversation when we thought where the ending of the season would go and the start of the next season would go, and now he's got the biggest piece of ammunition he's got, his own dragon, and it's going to end up being a battle of dragons with him, Jon, and Daenerys on the backs of each. We don't get 3 on 1.
Jon's going to take a dragon.
They got to.
Okay, so do you buy into the theory that Bran is the Night King?
No, okay. I do not.
So then what I think is you have the Night King's got his, Dany's going to use hers, and then Bran is going to take one of the other ones. Bran's going to warg into one of them.
That's what I was thinking.
And because the thing is, the end result, and they only teased at it with Drogon, letting Jon pet him. The end result that he's a Targaryen's him riding the back of one of those dragons. Okay, something that only Daenerys can do.
Then I would substitute it to where it's the Night King, Jon takes Drogon, and then Bran still works. I still think Bran's going to work into one of the dragons.
At some point.
If anything, he's going to try to take control of the Ice Dragon and throw the Night King off.
I don't think he can, because
who knows? Like, he's controlled everything so far. What's the chance he can't control a White Walker?
But never a white, though. But never a white.
We've seen. We've seen.
They haven't showed us. So we don't know if he can.
Because I don't think. I think if you go along as soon as the leader dies, the rest are in their control. I don't think he can take control from. And plus, the whites don't have the blue eyes. They look like normal zombies. It's the actual White Walkers that have the eyes, and the polar bear was on its own. Like, it was doing its. It wasn't because if it was a normal white, when you killed the White Walkers, they die. So I think it counts as its own entity. So technically, you have the 3 White Walkers. But
see, you bring up the whole Bran being the Night King. And we've never seen him take control of a white or any type of creature along that lines. But what's to say, to help your theory along, that by him doing this, taking control of the dragon and, knocking the Night King off, that might lead into this supposed theory. You know what I mean?
The theory is that Bran, like, shit goes down. Like, it gets bad, and Bran says, well, I'm going to go back to when the White Walkers were created and stop it, but he gets stuck there, and then he actually gets caught by the first...
I still think he's the White Raven, the 3-eyed Raven.
I'm not buying that either.
Yeah.
That's what I know.
In the books, the Night King is... In the books,
he's one of the first people.
He was the...
One of the first men.
Yeah,
he's one of the first men.
Yeah, so if they're going, granted, because they could change it, but I don't buy into it. I don't think he is.
The thing is, in the cave, they mentioned the Night King as being one of the first men, the first of men. So they've already mentioned that. So I still think Bran, if he's anyone, he's the older version of the Three-Eyed Raven, and he got himself stuck in a tree.
I think that's the most likely thing. I think that's the most likely thing. I just read that theory though, and Brenden, you hit it too because I told Lynn that earlier.
Yeah.
Before you got on, that Bran is the.
And I said nope. There's no way. And I even mentioned to.
It's an infinite time loop.
Yeah.
Of what Bran can do, and so you can get all crazy.
With the whole point of him is trying to stop the loop. That's what he's trying to do.
Break the wheel.
Yeah, he's trying to break the wheel. He's trying to stop the loop. So he's not going to do something that's going to send him back. So he has to relive all this shit all over again.
Never know.
I will say though that is definitely one of the best closing images
in a long time.
The whole nailed it.
Yeah.
Okay, did you watch the preview for next week?
Yes.
Okay, so do you think that they are actually gonna at least temporarily wrap up the whole Cersei fighting them, and then the season 8 is them trying to take down the Night King, or is it that's gonna fall apart and they're gonna have a three-way war?
I think because Cersei's too conniving, and the fact is you're sitting in her playground. She's not going to anybody. She's making sure everybody comes to her. There's no way in hell that bitch doesn't have something up her mind to try to fuck things up.
Who dies? Who dies at that meeting?
If Daenerys comes under attack, Jormund dies then.
Zora dies probably.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a light scuffle.
A light scuffle. There'll be blood. There'll be blood.
Do you think Cersei buys in? Is she's gonna write off the white they have?
I think that's like the last resort. I don't think they're just gonna have him on a leash, bringing him in, sitting next to him.
So they're gonna be like, "You need to listen to us."
Right.
Like, no, fuck that, and then try to kill somebody, and then they're like, "Boom."
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Obviously, we know from the teaser that there at least some talking happens because Jon says, and he tells them about the war that's happening right now with the White Walkers. So at least some talk happens. I think if Cersei goes along with that and does agree to the armistice for a while, I think she's going to do everything in her power to get the upper hand by the time that war's done. She can win the Iron Throne. And one of the things I think she would do is to somehow kill the dragons or allow the dragons to be killed by White Walkers in some way so it's an even...
I think that's not going to happen because Dany's, for one, is going to leave the dragons at home.
No. I'm not talking about at that meeting. I'm talking about if they decide on the armistice and they go after the White Walkers. I think Cersei, throughout whatever they're doing with White Walkers, she's going to...
And if she sees these White Walkers, she's not going to want to kill the dragons because they're their biggest weapon. She's not going to want to kill the dragons.
Not until after the battle's won.
No.
I still don't... there's got to be a breaking point with her. And this is a woman who blew up an entire... religious place just to get rid of her competition. Let's be realistic. And this was on her own turf. I still think whatever she does, she's not going to be sitting there going like, "Oh, it's alright, we'll be peaceful for right now, we'll work with you, all's good," no, until after the battle. That's not going to happen. She's too spiteful. Yeah, but that's not happening. It's not happening. I'm only sticking with this episode. I'm just saying that she's doing something at this episode.
Oh yeah, this episode she's trying to connive something. I don't think that there's gonna. This episode is somebody's dying. I think Jorah's gonna die.
Yeah.
Other things I want to.
I think Mount's gonna die.
I would like to see the Clegane Bowl this next episode. That'd be freaking awesome.
It'd be nice, but I don't think.
End the season right there.
Who's left on Arya's list?
Cersei, Jaime, the Mountain.
I thought she took the Mountain off.
No, she took the Hound off.
The Hound is off.
Oh, right.
Because of Brienne.
Also,
what if they kill each other? What if they both die? Like,
wait, but here's the thing. Brienne's going to be there. So, where's she going to be sitting?
Is Tormund going to go?
I don't want... Okay,
maybe
so
that's how he dies. Maybe he dies protecting Brienne.
No, I don't want him to die. I want him... Out of all...
I don't die either, but I think he will.
No. I think his Glenn moment is not going to come to fruition.
He's going to make those babies?
Yes, he's going to make those big old babies.
Big old, they're going to be monsters.
They're going to be monsters.
Here's what else I'm hoping
That's a wildly.
Yeah, that's a wildly.
So, I want to see, is Arya going to chill out? I want to see the Ice Dragon fight. I
don't think we'll see the Ice Dragon.
No, listen. I just want to see a sample of what the Ice Dragon's like moving around. I want to see a sample.
Well, they said that the writer said that the Ice Dragon can freeze a man in like half a second.
Okay,
like
so
ice solid.
I want to see a sample of something. I want to see it flying around. I want to see if icicles are falling from it while it's flying. I think there's going to be a little bit of a scuffle, like I said, and I'm looking forward to seeing what else happens in that meeting of the powers.
What's the chance that Benji can still be alive, even though he was like pounded? He was half dead already.
He was on the ground though, but he's at the same time he's probably torn to pieces.
I thought I saw a lot of blood go.
No, I didn't see any. I didn't see anything. All I saw was massive bodies on top of him. Yeah, all I saw was mass.
I'll double check it.
Here's the thing: how he died was one of those things where it was like Glenn dying and going under the.
Yeah, so he could actually fell into the water.
Exactly.
And he could be swimming away and suddenly I'm like, where's my horse?
I think he's dead because now the only other person that knows
is Brad.
Technically is Bran, and then Sam and what's her face.
Well, Sam doesn't know. He didn't pay attention to this.
Well, no, but he has the information.
He has the physical evidence, yes, in that book.
I told you weren't on the episode when I told Lynn this. Is I predicted this is one of my own theories and rumors, or that I want to start. Is that I think Jon is going to have that conversation with Ned about his mother, and he's going to do it because remember you and I talked about it. I brought it up to you.
Yeah.
Brenden wasn't on with us that day.
I want to hear his thoughts.
It might not be next episode, but Bran is going to somehow put his hand on Jon's shoulder. They're going to warg into the past. Or something like that, and they're gonna have a talk. Jon's gonna tell him about his parentage. And
where did Sam say he was going to when he left?
I don't remember where he was going. I don't remember him saying where he was going.
Was he? He could have. Yeah, no. All I know is he was heading north of wherever he was at.
I hope that he ends up at that meeting somehow. And then they're like, well, you shouldn't be the king. And then he's like, oh, yeah, well, my baby read this.
Well, no. If he's going...
Baby's first word is Targaryen.
The first assumption I would think is the last position where he knows Jon to be is Winterfell. So I'm hoping, and consider he'd go to Winterfell. And since he has a tricky maester to deal with at Winterfell, maybe that'll play into the whole Littlefinger stuff as well, with him helping out and proving that Littlefinger is who he claims to be. He's not here to help. Because that'd be nice too, because Sam has pulled some good tricks out of his ass, at the last moment. So this might be his last one.
So next week we have the season finale. It's an hour and a half, so there has to be some kind of fight of some kind.
Well, this one was an hour and 20 minutes.
Hour 15.
No, I thought that was an hour and 10 minutes.
No, because minus.
Said an hour 15, but the count time on the actual episode was an hour and 12 minutes.
Because my recording said 120, so I guess the 5 minutes.
Previous and prior. Mine said 115, but the actual count on it was 112. Not 112. It was an hour and 12 minutes.
All right.
This next finale next week is an hour and 31 minutes. But I think that includes the credits and opening credits, so it's not like pure show. I don't know. There's going to be a lot more than we think, and we haven't even touched on. There's going to be a little scuffle, of course. There's going to be a meeting.
Well,
I think that meeting's going to be at the beginning of the episode or the end of the episode. I think it's going to be at the beginning. I think it's going to be at the beginning. I
don't think it'll be right at the beginning. I think it'll be right within the first 30 minutes.
Yeah, I would say the first 30 minutes. And it sets something up, then something interrupts it. And then they go their separate ways like a little scuffle. and then they have to come back to something else.
Yeah.
No, because I think it'll be them talking about what they're going to do and what their plan is for the meeting. Like, okay, so we're going to do this, and we're going to have this person, you know, over the mountain or over the hill. So if they try shit, we have like a fucking army coming. Or
because keep in mind, Daenerys is
wrap up fucking
because keep in mind, you saw the Sully, you saw the Unsullied, you saw the Dothraki, so Daenerys is going to have her people with her
at the castle.
Yes, so she's not going alone.
Yeah.
So we got to wrap up that stuff first.
Yeah. So there's going to be something.
Brenden, what were you saying that they're going to wrap up other than that? Because
I think that was he was referencing the Unsullied being stuck.
In the teaser, the Dothraki and the Unsullied right there at the front gates, and Jaime and Bronn are looking at him, and they're both very worried.
Yeah.
They're both very worried. So I kind of hope they don't go down that route. I hope they don't kind of give us an inkling of what traps are being laid. I hope both sides have traps, and I don't want to know what they are. Maybe we'll see some of those traps. I don't want them to kind of give us too much foreshadowing before that meeting happens.
It won't be first thing. I don't think so.
It might be within the first 30 minutes is what I'm saying. I think.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, 30 minutes, yeah, I can get.
Then there's more episode way after that. There's another hour worth of episode that we're going to get to after that, I think. Alright guys, so any last thoughts? Anything you want to say about the episode?
I think we pretty much covered this one.
I think we did a really good job.
I think this one's longer than the actual episode we watched. So it was.
I'm gonna watch it again.
It was. I'm talking about us talking about it. I think we've talked longer than the actual episode.
Before Lynn and I got on Skype.
Yeah.
I watched it twice now. Alright guys, so let's say some goodbyes. Brenden.
Goodbye everybody. I hope to see a behind the scenes of how the whites make change.
Alright everybody, until the next group of monster babies come around, we'll see you on the next one.
Oh, and I heard somebody say this, and I just want to throw this out there, that the polar bear, I thought there was 2 polar bears. Somebody says there's only one. If it's only one, or if there's 2, either way.
Oh, now that you bring that up, I want to know, the guy was running, right, with the polar bear behind him, right, and then suddenly out of nowhere he gets him from the side. Like,
I've heard it said that the polar bear clever girled him.
Yeah, like, see, I thought maybe that's, because you saw one so far off in the distance.
I think it was 2, but they only showed us 1. I don't know how it could have gotten that fast.
Yeah.
Around. It was away. But anyway, thank you for joining us, you guys. For Lynn, for Brenden, we appreciate it. Join us on Thursday for the podcast. It'll be live, coming to you from Sacramento, Delano, and Tampa. And we will see you guys next time on Geeks.